YouTube, what's going on? Welcome back to another reaction video. I'm doing just the one today because I feel like physically in this heat I cannot handle any more than that because my brain is liquid and it just takes every ounce of energy in my being to muster up a sentence right now in this heat. So we're just gonna do one, and then I'm gonna go get a cold shower immediately after this video is done with being recorded. I feel like I feel like looking at myself in the camera, I look like a mess. Can you tell? Maybe. It's scary how quickly I just break down in the heat and just cease to function normally. Doing David Bowie today. I did David Bowie on the channel. I did "Owe You Pretty Things," which is a great song, and I've listened to since actually, like in my spare time. I did that like a year and a half ago or something, like ages ago. It was actually a donation request at the time. And then I was like, oh, this was really good. I want to do more David Bowie. And then I guess for whatever reason, I don't know if it was like just before COVID. Obviously, when COVID first started, and quarantine first started, there was a period where I couldn't record. So I don't know if that threw me off or what, but I got thrown off and just never really went back to him for whatever reason. And I decided that was silly and stupid and dumb of me. So we're finally going back. And I'm doing The Man Who Sold the World today. Because if you saw yesterday's video, where I talked about what I've been listening to over the past month, you'll have heard that I've been listening to quite a bit of Nirvana recently. I've been on a bit of a Nirvana kick. Obviously, they covered this famously during an MTV Unplugged show. So I figured, you know what, if I've been listening to Nirvana recently and I want to get in with David Bowie, it kind of just makes sense. Like, I'm going to go on the David Bowie journey, I think, from here on out. We're going to get exploring his repertoire, and we'll listen to all sorts of stuff from throughout his career. But it felt like a good place to start. Why not start with something that I loosely know via someone else's cover that I really like? And I really like that cover. I really like that version of the song, or that song. So apparently the original is quite different. So I'm excited to hear it. I figured we'd start here, and then this could just plant the seed to get going from there, and hopefully we'll see where the Bowie journey takes us. That said, let's start. The Man Who Sold the World. Let's go. Okay, my earphones are being funky. Let's go. Maybe they weren't being funky. Maybe it's just quiet to start with. Okay, it was just a quiet intro. Never mind. Oh, the bass is a lot more prevalent in this version. Okay, and I'm hearing all sorts of different intros.
He said I was his friend, which came as some surprise. I spoke into his
I love that you hear himself in the background, like it's not layered, but like he's like his own backing vocals. Okay, it's a little more. Oh, the bass here.
laughed and shook his hand and made my way.
It's got a bit of a funk to it, like it's got a little something in the background.
For years and years I roamed. I gazed a gazeless stare at all the millions here. We must have died alone a long, long time ago.
It definitely like intrigues me as to his writing style, because he's got a very interesting writing style. And I think it's just the way he is, like the way he speak. I've heard him speak a little bit in interviews and stuff. And from the couple of songs of his that I have heard, kind of clips and stuff over the year, he speaks and writes a very interesting way, and this definitely is no exception. I like it. There's a lot more layer to it in the original here. Obviously, the version I know was from an unplugged performance, so obviously that was always going to be a bit more stripped back. But he's it's unique, and it's got this kind of like, I don't even know how to describe. I can't even think of the word to describe the feel. Maybe I'll maybe it'll come to me at the end. But it's interesting now. I remember good. I say interesting so way too much in these videos. Okay, let's go. There's whatever's shaking in the background. There's like maracas and shit, and it sounds like one of them wooden fish. Damn, this video is more recent than I thought. These vocals in the background coming in and out. I can hear him kind of going there. Yeah, there was a lot going on at the end there. This whole like, ooh, there was just okay. There's like 30 seconds left of this. I have a feeling that this is maybe not supposed to be there. Yeah, this sound and the end of the song, not the end, but like the end before it went silent and then brought some more in was very like it felt like I don't know how to describe it, and I wouldn't be surprised if this. Like, even from early impressions and from what I know already, I wouldn't be surprised if this continues to be a theme as I listen to more Bowie, in that I just don't know how to describe the feeling I have or what I've heard. That I was hoping there's not really much in the bio. It just talks about... It's a very sad rendition because it's so tied up in life and death, so it takes on all these different shades for me. Because I also remember fairly clearly my state of mind when I was actually writing it, which was, I guess, as near to a mystical state as a 19-year-old can get. 19. Jesus. And I remember it was a time where I was sort of studying Buddhism for my 15 minutes of Buddhism, so it's interesting that it changed. It really had two mystical states, the time that I wrote it and recorded it, and the time that Kurt Cobain wrote it, when he wrote it again, when he recorded it, and the things that led up to his end after that, so I guess it still retains for me a sense of the mystical. Mystical is an interesting way to describe it. I'm wondering what that actually means. Oh no, not me, I never lost control. So he spoke to a friend, and then the friend said, I thought you died a long time ago, and then he says, not me, I never lost control. You're face to face with the man who sold the world. So he's the man who sold the world, and he's telling this friend that you are face to face with the man who sold the world. Now, he got his inspiration from the title from the science fiction novel by Robert Heinlein entitled The Man Who Sold the Moon. I believe that the song is talking about the former version of the character, the man who sold the world, as the old self. He was a wild guy. He did wild things and was on the edge. Selling the world is a big thing. I believe this is what Bowie was going for with this line. This is why he goes all proud, you're face to face with the man who sold the world. I think that this might be one of those lines that is very, very open to interpretation. I think there is many ways you could take this. I think that's part of the mystical nature of it, the mysticism, I think, is the fact that it... I just have that feeling. I didn't immediately go anywhere with it. I read that and was like, okay, of the ideas I had... Okay, and then someone commented and said the man who sold the world could also imply that Bowie, who sold who sold who he is sold himself. I was thinking something like that. The thought that an old friend was like, I thought you died, I thought you were gone. He's almost saying he is gone, or like an old version of him is gone, but actually he is still physically here, but he's sold the world. He's no longer the person he used to be. He didn't die as much as people might think that, but like almost you maybe could think that because he is no longer himself. He's saying, no, I didn't die, you're looking at the man who sold the world. He sold himself. But then also, I feel like when I heard this song, I heard the Nirvana version of it on the radio when I was a kid, and I liked it since I was a kid. And I literally thought that I thought of it as like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old. I thought very specifically as he is a man who literally, he was like a man who had the deed to the earth and literally sold it. And that was such a cool concept to me. And I almost feel like you could almost just take it at surface level and still think of it that way, and it's still just like a cool little story. But then on a more like personal level, I think that this is one of those where interpret it as you choose to interpret it, in which case I would be interested to hear people's thoughts in the comments, and what you guys think of the song and how you guys take it. I laughed and shook his hand and made my way back home. I searched for form and land. For years and years I roamed, so I guess he went back to himself. I guess he just bumped into this friend. He said I was his friend, which came as a surprise. I spoke into his eyes. Oh, never mind, I've got it backwards. He bumped into the friend, and the friend said he was the one who sold the world. It doesn't really matter, it's still the same context. It's still the same... It's still me taking it the same way, just it was the friend that said it, not him, so I guess that doesn't really make too much of a difference. I laughed and shook his hand and made my way back home. Who knows? Not me. We never lost control. So now he's saying we never lost control. We must have died alone. He's staring at the stars. There's a lot to unpack here. The persona of the song is realising that he lost himself and now has a gaze of stare. So yeah, that's what I mean about selling himself. He's lost himself. Lacking the power of sight. The official lyric and what Bowie sings is actually gazely stare, but gazely is not a word. Okay, again, I feel like he's just that type of writer that we're not going to worry about that because it's... I didn't know that gazely wasn't a word, but I don't care. It works. He used it and it makes sense to me when he said it and it sounded good, so fuck it, who cares if it's in the dictionary or not. Oh, there's a reference here to Syd Barrett. Given the song's lyrics have been subject to multiple interpretations, that makes sense, from Bowie's fixation on schizophrenia, be it from his half-brother or Pink Floyd's Syd Barrett to the philosophy of Nietzsche, the persona is either messiah or grandiosely insane or perhaps both. Holy shit, we have really gone down a rabbit hole here, and I cannot wait to listen to more Bowie. Someone tell me more about this fixation on schizophrenia. Apparently he has a fixation on Syd Barrett. That'll be interesting as we listen to more Bowie, to hear if I can hear more, to hear if I pick up on any Floyd inspirational notes within his music. Obviously Syd was never really got a chance to be a part of Floyd, but I imagine if he was fixated on Syd, he was probably at least a fan of the whole of Floyd as well. We've really, I cannot wait to see where this goes. In this line, it changes from I never lost control to we never lost control, implying that the protagonist and the man who sold the world are the same person. I don't necessarily know if that's where I would take in that, or more just that he... Okay, someone mentioned Nietzsche. Someone mentioned that Bowie apparently is interested in Nietzsche. Stare into the abyss long enough... It's something about, like, don't spend too long fighting the darkness, because if you stare into the abyss long enough, this abyss will stare back into you. That was Nietzsche, I think, who said that. And he's saying you could maybe link that back to being like, and obviously he didn't mention Nietzsche in the song, but someone in the comments here said that he was a big Nietzsche fan. Bowie was. So maybe that's the point of this man who's sold the world. Is he crazy? Has he lost himself? Whatever the case may be. The protagonist has bumped into this guy and has had this conversation with him and has now gone their separate ways. And now all of a sudden he's saying, we never lost control. Now he's suddenly like doubting to himself. So I must wonder if that's like staring into that person and getting that element of self-doubt. They used to be good friends and now something's changed and maybe he's now being like, shit, have I changed as well? I think that about that sometimes. Old friends who I haven't spoken to for a long time. I have some friends I've been meaning to reconnect with and I haven't because I'm almost hesitant to be like, I don't know if things are probably fine, but yeah, there's this thing in my head that's just being like, maybe we're like different now, or maybe we won't still like connect the same way. So maybe he's like bumped into this old friend and who's lost himself, and now that's starting to plant these seeds of self-doubt and reflection in his own mind on his own life. I believe that we Lost Control shows that the protagonist has accepted that who he was in the past is still a part of him now. So that we could be referring to his current self and his old self in saying that we never lost control. The old version of him changed, but that wasn't him losing control, and also the current version of him also hasn't lost control. It's just natural change in life, maybe. But just because people have changed, maybe that's him coming to terms with it. Just because people change doesn't mean he lost control over himself or who he was. Jesus, this is going to be a ride. I really cannot, oh my god, I cannot wait to do more Bowie. Right, okay, on that note, I'm going to end it. I feel like this is one of those ones I would rather reflect on than run around in circles, which I feel like I may end up doing. And also, the more I sit here on this page, the more I'll read other people's thoughts and then just regurgitate what they've said. I feel like that's kind of where I'm at right now. I feel like I've said my piece to where I'm at with that. So that said, as I said, I would really love to know what you guys think of that song in terms of your interpretations or how you guys have taken it. Has it changed over the years? Did you think something of it when you first heard it and then ended up coming to a different conclusion 10, 20 years later? I don't know. Let me know. And then I guess more importantly as well, or equally importantly, let me know what I should do next. Now, if I will go back to the Oh You Pretty Things video and look through the comments on that to get suggestions again, because people probably suggested stuff back then. But feel free to give me more as well, and I'll just add them to the list. Thank you guys for watching. I cannot wait to go on this journey, because I was not expecting that much from that, but philosophy and religion and self-reflection, oh, it's going to be a good one. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it all. I'll see you guys later. Peace, guys. Bonk.